Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny. I don't even remember how I start videos anymore, so let's just get this rolling. So today is Independent Bookstore Day here in the United States. It's April 29th as I'm filming this. Who knows when this video will go up, but that's when I'm filming it. And in honor of Independent Bookstore Day, I purchased some books, and also in honor of me finishing up my master's program. My last day of classes is on Tuesday, which is crazy. So I figured I'd just take some time to show you not only the books that I got today at my local indie, but then also a few other books I've just gotten over the past couple of months, because I felt like that was gonna be a fun, easy video to film. I always love a book haul. So let's just get started. I am also going to do a mid-year favorite so far video, probably at the end of June. So be prepared for that within the next couple months. So the very first book I actually won a Goodreads giveaway, and I heard about this months ago. It's called Everything's Fine by Cecilia Orabis. So this one comes out on the 6th of June, so in a month from now-ish. And this one, oh, my friends are texting me. And this one I'd heard really good things about a couple months back, like pretty early buzz. I feel like from maybe Emma at Drinking by My Shelf or something, but someone was like, I really enjoyed this book. It's a weird kind of like social commentary, almost like horror, but not quite. And then I guess something must have happened, and then there was drama about TikTok, and this book is bombing on Goodreads. I don't keep up with TikTok. In fact, I have a negative view of TikTok. I don't think it's a great platform. So I knew none of this, but I'm still excited about reading this book, because I have a strong suspicion that TikTok has misinterpreted something, because I don't know. Otherwise, I feel like from what this book is trying to do, I feel like it's probably more nuanced than TikTok has perceived it to be. So I'm excited about this one. Thanks to Simon Schuster for sending me this copy, as part of a Goodreads giveaway. I've won one other Goodreads giveaway before, and I really like the book, so I do have high hopes for that. Then the next book I got sometime last month, back in March, when I went to Richmond for the day. We were doing like a alumni kind of networking event, and we had some free time, and I went to this little bookshop with a friend of mine that I believe is called Fountain Books or Fountain Bookshop. It's right by the river, super cute. If you're ever in Richmond, Virginia, would recommend trying to find it. There was another bookshop too that people kept mentioning to me. I think it's Chop Suey Books, but I've never made it over there, so I can't confirm if it's good or not. But this is Cat Brushing by Jane Campbell. And this was on the staff recommends section, which I always love. An independent bookstore I've never been to before, if it has a staff recommends section, I always love looking through it. And this one had so many staff recommends that were books that I've really enjoyed, which I feel like is always a good sign for then the rest of the books on the staff recommends section. So this one just kind of caught my eye. It's a short story collection, out by Grove Atlantic, and Lily King has blurbed it, who also is published under Grove Atlantic. And I love her short stories, so I'm intrigued about these. The author's also much older. It doesn't say how old she is, but you can see she is not a spry spring chicken. But all the stories in here are about, sorry, the glare is also terrible. All the stories in here are about older female protagonists. And I think getting up to some kind of like sensual vigorously explores the central worlds of 13 older women, unearthing their passions, libidinal appetites, integrity, and a sense of self as they fight against prevailing misconceptions and stereotypes of the aging. And this one, I just read the first couple pages of the first story and was intrigued. And also the staff recommend little blurb was like really positive about it. So figured I'd give this a shot. And then the last, no, that's a lie. I was going to say the last book for my independent bookstore haul, but that's not true. Then the next book is one that I got because of the Virginia Festival of the Book, which again was last month, and that's Making Our Future, Visionary Folklore and Everyday Culture in Appalachia by Emily Hilliard. So I heard Hilliard speak along with some friends at the Virginia Festival of the Book, which is an event hosted here in Charlottesville. That's basically just a book festival where people come talk. And Rebecca Mackay also came for a different event that I went to, which was really cool. I did not love her most recent book, but that's neither here nor there. But this is a nonfiction book that's published by an academic press, I think UNC Press. And it's written by a person who is like academic adjacent. She's like a folklorist, which I didn't realize was a real profession until I went to this talk, but it seemed like a really cool topic from the talk, and the subtitle really caught my eye, and it's about West Virginia specifically and kind of folklore practices there, but exploring what folklore means in kind of a more contemporary setting of like hot dog eating contests and stuff, which I just thought was a really interesting concept. And so I'm excited to explore this more at some point. And also this cover is just like so beautiful. So that was another one that I was eager to look forward to. And then, so I really have been actually, despite this chaos, been trying to reduce the number of books that I both buy and have unread sitting on my shelves. That's a noble goal, where I really have my work cut out for me in that, because I just love buying books so much. And something that has not been helping me is Pango Books, where I have started selling books with fairly high success. I would say it's very easy, user-friendly platform. So if you were looking to start it, I would recommend. I will put a link to my Pango Books down in the description box below, but I will warn you that it's all books that I personally either decided I no longer want to read or I didn't enjoy all that much. So obviously they're not like glowing recommendations, because any book that I really enjoy, I keep on my bookshelf. But you know, every book has its intended audience. But anyway, so I have been selling Pango Books on Pango Books. And then when you sell a book, you get Pango Bucks, which can be kind of sent back to your actual bank account for like real dollars, or it can just remain Pango Bucks, and then you can use it to fuel other purchases, which is really dangerous for me, because that means that all these books, the 3 books I'm about to show you, were all like $1 each, even with shipping and stuff, and that's just like too good a deal to pass up. So the next 2 books I think I bought together from 2 separate sellers, but they arrived around the same time, and they both have kind of similar themes, so I'm hoping to read them at a similar time. The first is Paul by Daisy Lafarge. This is actually the British edition. I'm not sure how the person who I purchased this from, because they were from like Florida or something, had the British edition, but they do. And I do love the American edition of this, but this one, as I said, was like $1, so I couldn't really say no to that. And this is about a young woman who's, I think, named Frances. Yeah. And she meets the Paul, that is the title of this book, who is a farmer in France. And they begin a very tumultuous, toxic relationship, because I believe Paul is older than Frances. Frances is like just graduated from college or something. So it is exploring like rurality, which is a major topic in my own life. And then also kind of relationships therein, and farming, and just all kinds of fun things around that. So I'm really excited about this book, even though I have heard no one but a New York Times book review talk about it, but the New York Times book review sold me. So I'm excited about that. And then the other one I have heard briefly talked about at some points here on BookTube is The Shame by McKenna Goodman. This one came out a few years ago, 2020, and is very short, as you can see, out by Milkweed Editions, which I do usually like their fiction. And this one, similarly, is about a woman living in rural Vermont who's a mother. She's a homesteader, and I believe she's just kind of unhappy with her life, and so I think she might actually leave for a period of time, her family, kind of unexpectedly. So I'm intrigued to see if these 2 books have some kind of elements of conversation with one another, which is partially why I bought them. And the other reason why I bought them is because I have very little self-control when it comes to buying books. Then the final book I bought on Pango Books was in tandem with a book club book, which I've already read. It was Either Or by Leif Botchuman, but this seller also had this book, and I was like, it's gonna be $5. I think it was gonna make the shipping free or something, so it was gonna be actually cheaper to buy this book too, which is just such the dangerous thing about online shopping, and why I try to avoid it, because you just play stupid mind games with yourself. But anyhow, this is Vigil Harvard by Julia Glass. I believe this book came out last year, but it's probably still out. Yeah, 2022. It's probably still out in hardcover. I didn't see the paperback when I was at the bookstore today, anyhow. And this is like a climate fiction-y book, I think, set in Maine, maybe, or somewhere in the kind of New England coast. Someone's dropped out of college in New York, so it doesn't say specifically, but it's a historic sailing town of Vigil Harvard, which is obviously a fictional town, but I believe it's set in the kind of near future coastal community, talking about climate change in a fiction-y way. And I don't know, I've just been very intrigued by this book, and looking forward to reading it at some point this summer. And now onto my little indie bookstore haul. So my indie bookstore here in Charlottesville, which I think this won't be the last time I visit the indie bookstore, because I did pre-order Brandon Taylor's new book, which comes out the week I leave Charlottesville. But this was one of the last times. So that's why I kind of felt like it was my big hurrah, and that's why I spent so much money. But that's new Dominion Bookshop, which I would highly recommend if you're ever here in Charlottesville. It's a super cute shop. It says it was established in 1924. It's on the downtown mall, and they're just very lovely in there. And they have a really good curation. I feel like they have just nicely laid out sections. It's very bright. It's just a nice atmosphere. And today with Indie Bookstore Day, they were all, like the entire staff was there and they were all so excited and it was just adorable to see. So the atmosphere was great. But in terms of the 4 books that I got today at New Dominion, the first of which is The Great Displacement, Climate Change and the Next American Migration by Jake Biddle. This is a climate change book about how people will have to move away from where they live and they are already doing so because of climate change. And one of these chapters is actually about a project that I think my work is involved in. So I'm very intrigued about reading that chapter and seeing if there's any name drops about that, because I'm pretty sure it's the same project, because it's definitely in the same city in North Carolina, and it's not that big of a city. So that'll be intriguing. But Jake Biddle also writes for Grist, which is a climate online news media platform that I'd recommend checking out if you are not familiar with it. So yeah, I believe I've read his work before. All the big names have blurbed it on the back in terms of climate writing. David Wallace Wells, Elizabeth Goldberg, Bill McKibben, Elizabeth Rush, Eliza Griswold. So, I mean, hopefully it's good if they all thought it was good. Next up is one that I was kind of, I made a little checklist for myself of like, I'd like to get a poetry collection. I wanted to buy The Great Displacement. And then one other kind of book that just spoke to me, which ended up being 2 books, which is, fine. But this one I started reading, and I was just like, I chuckled out loud when I was reading the first couple pages, and I was like, this seems like a good sign. And I feel like I recently heard or saw some review that was like, this book is so underhyped, it's so funny, you must read it. And I can't remember if it was a friend in real life on Goodreads or if it was some person on the bookstore net. But this is Disorientation by Elaine. Ooh, I'm not sure how you say her name. Chow? Elaine Chow? I don't know. I apologize, Elaine, for not knowing how to say your name. But this is about a young woman who's a PhD student writing her English dissertation on a very famous Chinese poet who she doesn't even want to be writing about. And it just sounds really funny. The back said something that I thought was good. It asks who gets to tell our stories and how the stories changes, and how the story changes when we finally tell it ourselves. Which, I'm a grad student, burnt out on school, so I thought this would be relatable to me for a little fun summer reading. And yeah, I've heard really good things about this one, so excited about that. Then the next one is one that one of my best friends, who's also a big reader and who's in my little best friend book club, told me. She was like, Jenny, I just heard about this book and I think you'd really like it. And I started, again, reading it in the bookstore, and the first essay was making me laugh. And I was like, this is good. This is a good sign. This is the vibes I'm trying to bring into my life right now. And that's How Far the Light Reaches, A Life in 10 Sea Creatures by Sabrina Imbler. And these are partially scientific essays about sea creatures, but then also kind of personal narrative memoir essays. And that's my favorite type of nonfiction, is nonfiction that blends the personal with an area of research. And so I'm really excited about this. The first essay is about Sabrina's time trying to protect goldfish who were being sold at Petco from being sold, and it was very funny. It was really well written. So I'm excited about this one quite a lot, and it's pretty short. I'm excited about this one quite a bit, and it's pretty short. And then last but not least, I wanted to get a poetry collection because I'm getting more into poetry, or I'm trying to become more into poetry, but it's hard when you don't know who you'd like to read from. And I was hoping to buy a collection by someone I've not read from before today, but then I just was really getting excited about getting back into Ada Lamon, who I've read Bright Dead Things from earlier this year. Absolutely loved it. One of my favorite poetry collections. I mean, I've not read that many, but it was really good. And this is her follow-up to that. I was thinking about getting her most recent collection that I think came out last year, but I was like, why not read them in chronological order if I have the opportunity to do so? So this is The Carrying. I don't know how people talk about poetry, especially if they haven't read it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So this is all of the, I'm going to say it's nine or 10 books that I've acquired in the recent past, which feels like a lot, but I have big plans to do a lot of reading this summer when I'm not working, because that just sounds really lovely. Just sitting outside or reading a good book is my dream. That's all I want to do in life. So that's gonna wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching. I don't think I'm even gonna edit it. So I hopefully we'll just upload this soon. So thank you so much for watching. If you're new to my channel somehow, please stick around and subscribe. I post videos incredibly rarely. Okay, bye. Have a good rest of your day.